Hello, welcome back everyone to my channel. This video is going to be the fourth episode of the series Behind Papers, where we try to understand together how research works, how the academic environment works, and this video specifically is the second part of the fourth episode. In the first part, we discussed about the similarities and the differences between qualitative and quantitative research. And again, as in every video, I always suggest you to watch the other video because these videos build up on each other. I keep repeating this just because maybe this is the first video you are watching. And yeah, just for the sake of the logic of this series, it's better to watch the previous videos unless you are already in the field and you just want to know more about a specific topic. So this second part, we keep going on the relationship between qualitative and quantitative research. In the second part, we're going to discuss more in details why we can actually combine them. So which are the points that allow for these strategies to be combined together. While in the last video, we are going to talk about how they can actually be combined. But yeah, just stay tuned for the second part, and if you're interested about what I'm going to say, keep watching the video after the intro. So hello everyone, my name is Annette, and I'm here to help people to develop an independent interpretation of reality and trying to understand together how spirituality is integrated in our everyday life. So we said in the previous videos that these two strategies have their own characteristics, right? Even though I already said that these distinctions are not that clear-cut, but as I said, representing these strategies as being this specific is an arbitrary decision. So it means that it is made for the sake of understanding these strategies better, but without meaning that they are completely separated. This is what we are going to say in a bit. So which are the core similarities, how we can actually use qualitative and quantitative research, so the ways that allow us to understand that they are not that different. In fact, before going to describe the 4 examples where we can see how these strategies are similar in their core to the point that actually they can be used together, we can start by saying in general that qualitative research is not only interpretivist or that it only studies the social world, and at the same time we cannot say that quantitative research only studies the natural world and it is only positivistic, right? Because, for example, when qualitative researchers evaluate the work of quantitative researchers, they see that there is a discrepancy between what they write and what reality is. It means that despite they're doing their best to being objective, to represent reality as much as possible close to what it is, there is still the degree of interpreting what they say. So there is always the human action of translating what we observe into words and giving to words a meaning and writing things in a certain way so that we can understand. So despite doing their best, as I said, they still have those characteristics that they try to avoid. At the same time, qualitative researchers also study very specific issues. It means that they do what quantitative researchers do in natural sciences when they want to, for example, study a specific, like reaction, chemical reaction, for example. So despite their goal maybe is different, they encounter the same issues. I hope this is clear. It's just to kind of show how they are similar in the way. So they can be used, like both qualitative and quantitative research strategies can be used to study both the natural and the social world, and they both struggle with being objective, and they both study specific issues. Of course, this applies for people that accept this, because when it comes to how to conduct research, there can be different schools of thinking, so that some researchers do not accept this. Some researchers say, no, you only use quantitative research to study the natural world and only qualitative research to study the social world. But it depends, right? So if we are not that strict, we can actually see how they can be used together. With that being said, now I'm going to talk about 4 examples that are going to touch the characteristics of qualitative and quantitative research that we already discussed in the specific videos and episodes where we discuss qualitative and quantitative research. And you might remember these words. So as I said, what I've done by now in this video is just like a general discussion, but now I'm going to be more specific on the characteristics and how they are both part of qualitative and quantitative research. The first example is the distinction that is made between the fact that quantitative research only studies the behavior, and in this case I'm talking about, of course, social sciences, so yeah, of course we talk about behavior and stuff, while qualitative researchers study the meaning behind actions. But that's not actually clear-cut, in the sense that quantitative researchers can actually study the meaning behind action. It's just that they use methods such as like scales, where you have to rate a specific element, a specific meaning. So they do it not by asking people to explain why they did something, but they maybe do this scale where someone has to give a point from 1 to 10. And of course, this method has been highly criticized by qualitative researchers because you lack a lot of context, you lack the deeper reasoning that someone can do. But still, what matters is that they still research meaning. It's just that they do it differently. At the same time, qualitative researchers also study and observe the behavior. So saying that we, as qualitative researchers, do not observe behaviors doesn't make any sense, because if we go to a place and we study something, despite we talk about the meaning, we talk about reasonings and stuff, you still observe what other people do. So this is to say that they both give importance to the meaning and the behavior. It's just that meaning mostly relates to qualitative research and behavior mostly relates to quantitative research. And if they study these elements, they do it differently, but they both do that. The second example is that we usually think that quantitative researchers make hypotheses, and from there they elaborate a theory that they want to test and see whether they were right or not. But actually that's not always the case, because often quantitative research creates questionnaires, surveys where you want to explore a topic. So you are not starting with a theory, but you use these surveys to actually explore and then out of the results make a theory. At the same time, the idea that with qualitative research we only explore and we only go with the flow and find out what the theory is, it's not always accurate, because it also happens that we start a qualitative research with a theory already that we want to study and see whether we can accept it or not. As I said in the first example, it's just that most of the time one element is part of a specific type of strategy and the other element is part of the other strategy, but they're not that clear-cut. Different methods, different ways, but still both strategies can test or explore theories. The third example is that of the distinction between the fact that quantitative research relies on numbers and qualitative research relies on words. So again, it's true, numbers mostly relate to quantitative research and words to qualitative research. But while for quantitative research, I would say they don't really rely on words that much, we can say actually that qualitative research uses quantifications. It's just that they use it differently, in the sense that they're not really going to give that importance to specific numbers, but for sure they use words that are called semi-quantifications. So words such as most, mostly, sometimes. Of course, they're not specific, but they still quantify something. So most of the time in qualitative research, when it comes to measurements, quantifications, they are broader than specific numbers, but especially when it comes to writing down results. But also in qualitative research, we can use more specific quantifications. For example, when we do thematic analysis that we're going to discuss later in another video, we have to count the frequency of specific themes, of specific elements that keep coming out in the research. So in that way, we are going to count that and we can see how often this topic comes up and things like that. So we use quantifications anyway. As I said, it's more difficult that in quantitative research they use words to study something. First and last example that we are making here is that of the distinction between natural and artificial environment. So we usually say that quantitative research is conducted in artificial environments, while qualitative research is conducted in natural environments. But we have to think that even when we talk about qualitative research, when we conduct interviews, the interview is not a natural environment, it's not the usual environment where people find themselves in. So we still create something artificial. As much as we try to stay close to the reality, so we maybe do an interview in their home or whatever, it's still something that is not part of their everyday life. So here as well, this distinction is not that clear-cut, because qualitative research also uses artificial environments. So as with the previous example, it's mostly qualitative research that gets closer to quantitative research rather than the other way around. I think, of course, that quantitative research can also try to study reality in its natural environment as much as possible. It's easier that you use an artificial environment to study and to conduct quantitative research. So these were examples to show that despite we think that these two strategies are separated, they actually have similarities in their core. So not because they both, for example, have a research question, as we said, so it's more like of an external element, but literally their core, like the characteristics that are part of the strategies, they can be shared by the other strategy as well. And also they can be combined to study each other. These will get clearer in the next video, but we can start saying that, for example, we can use qualitative research to actually contextualize quantitative research to see how close the results are to reality, and, for example, see how statistical arguments are made, because the fact is, like with quantitative research, the fact that it's based on numbers, is based on statistics, measurements, it's easier to get by and be believed by people. As I said in the first videos, people tend to believe what is quantitative. If we see numbers, if we see statistics, it's easier to believe that, because we think, oh, actually, it gives us a sense of security, right? And it seems like we finally have realities as being represented in a synthetic way, in a clear-cut way, in a direct way. So it gives us maybe also security and doesn't really push us to ask more questions, because we say, yeah, numbers say so. And this is, of course, the legacy of a philosophical way of thinking that goes on since the positivism. So, I mean, go back and watch the other videos to go deeper into this. But the work of qualitative researchers sometimes is actually to go back and see how scientists or like people that use quantitative research made their arguments, so that we can see whether there is any fallacy, anything that might have been, how to say, like wrote in a certain way that allows people to believe those conclusions. So this was to say that these two strategies are important to be used together, and they can study each other. As I said, the next video is going to discuss this more in details. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I think they're also a bit shorter. I'm sorry if the first ones were a bit long. It depends on the amount of information we have to say. So if you have any question, please let me know. I will be very happy to answer them. And if you have any suggestion, I'd like to exchange opinions and information with you. I also have an Instagram page where I upload more often, and I'm going to write the name here. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like, press the notification bell so that you won't miss any other videos. This would really support me and allow to grow and hopefully meet more people and actually talk about these topics together. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed that, and I see you in the next video. Bye!